With its purple wigs and cool jumpsuits, UFO broke the mold, and in just one season influenced sci-fi as we know it. Each cast member brought a unique and memorable energy to the show, but what happened to them after? Today we're scanning the horizon to find out where the stars of UFO ventured after the show ended. Whose careers accelerated at light speed? Which careers lost their trajectory? Who raised a Hollywood A-list actor? Who married an A-list actor? And sadly, which stars are no longer with us today? And if I missed anyone, let me know in the comments. Grant Taylor, General James Henderson. Grant Taylor brought real authority to UFO. The kind of gruff, no-nonsense commander you definitely wouldn't want to argue with. His sharp delivery and military realism grounded the show and gave SHADO its edge. Sadly, Taylor's story ended just as UFO began. He passed away in early 1971 at only 53, shortly after filming his final scenes. His time on the series was short, but his commanding presence as General Henderson left a lasting mark on fans and the show's legacy. Ed Bishop, Commander Edward Straker. Commander Straker was the calm, steel-eyed American running shadow with platinum blonde precision and nerves of titanium. He gave UFO its stoic center, the kind of hero who'd sacrifice anything to keep Earth safe. After the series, Bishop built a solid career across the 70s and 80s, lending his distinctive voice to Captain Scarlet as Captain Blue and appearing in everything from British comedies to sci-fi thrillers like Saturn III. He kept working right into the 2000s before passing away in June 2005, just shy of 73. Gerry Anderson, UFO's co-creator, once said Bishop should have been a much bigger star, and maybe so. But to sci-fi fans, he'll always be Straker, the man in charge at SHADO HQ. Michael Billington, Colonel Paul Foster. Paul Foster was the fearless test pilot with a rebellious streak and undeniable charisma. Always the first to leap into action, whether in a skydiver sub or an interceptor, he gave the series its spark of adventure and attitude. And here's a fun bit of trivia. He was once in the running to play James Bond in the early 70s, and that suave confidence definitely showed. After UFO, Billington enjoyed steady roles on British TV, including the 1986 drama The Collectors, before dedicating himself to teaching acting in London. Sadly, he passed away from cancer in 2005 at just 63, only days before his co-star Ed Bishop. George Sewell, Colonel Alec Freeman. George Sewell made Alec Freeman the kind of second-in-command every leader hopes for. Calm under pressure, sharp with a comeback, and endlessly loyal. His dry wit and steady presence gave SHADO its balance, grounding the show's high-stakes tension with a touch of warmth and humanity. After the series, Sewell became a familiar face on British TV, starring as Detective Chief Craven in Special Branch and earning praise for his role in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. He kept acting right up to 2006 before passing away the next year at 82. Wanda Ventham, Colonel Virginia Lake. Wanda Ventham stepped into SHADO Command as Colonel Virginia Lake, bringing intellect, authority, and effortless style, not to mention that unforgettable purple wig. Her calm confidence gave the series a sharp, feminine edge that perfectly balanced Straker's intensity. After UFO, Ventham built one of the most enduring careers of the entire cast. Already well-established by 1970, she went on to appear in The Avengers, Doctor Who, and the beloved sitcom Only Fools and Horses as Cassandra's mom. In later years, she even shared the screen with her son, yes, Benedict Cumberbatch, in Sherlock. Now in her 90s, Wanda Ventham is celebrated as one of Britain's great character actresses. Neil Hallett, Major Joseph Kelly. Neil Hallett popped up in UFO as Major Joe Kelly, the veteran SHADO researcher who helps devise a bold plan to spy on the aliens' homeworld in the episode Close Up. Though his time on the show was brief, Hallett's calm authority and scientific gravitas made his appearance stand out. A familiar face to British TV audiences, Hallett had already built a long resume with roles in The Avengers, Department S, Z-Cars, and Doctor Who. After decades of steady work, he retired to Spain in 1991, enjoying a well-earned break until his passing in 2004 at age 80. Peter Gordeno, Captain Peter Carlin. Peter Gordeno looked every bit the hero as Captain Peter Carlin, the suave skydiver commander with movie star looks and a dancer's precision. In UFO's early episodes, he stole the spotlight, leading underwater missions and battling aliens with effortless poise. Fun fact, his character vanished mid-series, reportedly because his agent feared typecasting. After UFO, he returned to his first loves, dancing, singing, and choreography, touring the world and headlining in Las Vegas for several seasons. In his later years, he focused on developing a musical about his life before passing away from cancer in 2008 at 69. Gary Myers, Captain Lou Waterman. Lou Waterman was instantly likable, tall, athletic, and unshakably calm under pressure. First seen piloting an interceptor on Moonbase, he later took the helm of the Skydiver after Carlin's departure, proving himself the dependable hand every mission needed. Myers' fame after UFO came from an unexpected place. He became the milk tray man, the smooth, tuxedo-clad hero in Britain's iconic chocolate commercials. Throughout the 70s, he juggled acting, modeling, and ad work before returning to Australia in the mid-80s to live a quieter life. Dolores Mantez, Lieutenant Nina Barry. Nina Barry was one of SHADO's most capable operatives. Whether she was commanding Moonbase in that signature purple wig or calmly managing mission control on Earth, Barry was the picture of intelligence and composure. After UFO, Mantez chose a very different path. Originally a singer before moving into acting, she'd appeared in shows like The Avengers and a number of British dramas before deciding to leave the industry behind. After marrying a businessman and starting a family, she stepped away from the spotlight entirely. Dolores passed in 2012 at the age of 76. Antonia Ellis, Lieutenant Joan Harrington. Antonia Ellis gave Lieutenant Joan Harrington her spark. The sharp, confident Moonbase officer with those famous purple bangs and a hint of a smile even under pressure. Off-screen, Ellis was a seasoned dancer, performing in West End musicals and films like The Boyfriend. She later moved to Los Angeles, married writer Jerry Colker, and founded a jazz ballet troupe that toured internationally. Now in her 80s, she's remembered fondly as the Moonbase lieutenant who could track UFOs with the grace of a dancer. Harry Baird, Lieutenant Mark Bradley. Lieutenant Mark Bradley was one of UFO's most groundbreaking characters. A black astronaut on 1970s television, which was almost unheard of at the time, Bradley stood out as a capable, confident presence in SHADO's ranks. Baird's run on the show was short, reportedly cut back due to production challenges, but his wider career was impressive. He appeared in films like Sapphire and The Italian Job, often tackling complex roles that explored race and identity. Sadly, vision problems in the 1970s forced him to retire early from acting. He lived quietly afterward until his passing in 2005 at age 73. Jeremy Wilkin, Lieutenant Gordon Maxwell. Jeremy Wilkin may not have had many lines, but his steady presence as Lieutenant Gordon Maxwell, the blonde skydiver navigator beside Captain Waterman, added real authenticity to SHADO's submarine scenes. Behind the scenes, Wilkin was a major part of Gerry Anderson's creative world. He voiced Virgil Tracy in Thunderbirds and contributed to several other Anderson productions before moving into live-action work, including a memorable turn as the villain Kelman in Doctor Who, Revenge of the Cybermen. Wilkin passed away in 2017 at the age of 87. Shane Rimmer. That familiar North American voice you sometimes hear in UFO belongs to Shane Rimmer, who made a brief appearance as Lieutenant Bill Johnson, one of SHADO's reliable technicians. Rimmer's career, though, was anything but small. The Canadian-born actor became a legend in British sci-fi, voicing Scott Tracy in Thunderbirds and appearing in everything from Star Wars and Superman 2 to The Spy Who Loved Me and Doctor Who. Over 6 decades, he built up more than 160 screen credits, usually as the dependable American voice in British productions. Even in his later years, he kept working, lending his voice to the amazing world of Gumball before his passing in 2019 at age 89. Keith Alexander, Lieutenant Keith Ford. Keith Alexander was the calm, capable voice of SHADO Control. Lieutenant Ford, the communications officer who kept everything running smoothly. Whether relaying UFO reports or patching Commander Straker through in a crisis, he brought in easy professionalism that made him one of the show's quiet standouts. Alexander's career extended well beyond UFO. He voiced John Tracy in Thunderbird 6 and worked on Joe 90 in the Secret Service. He even popped up on screen as a newsreader in Superman and later returned home to Australia, where he appeared in Home and Away during the 1990s. Now in his mid-90s and long retired, Keith Alexander remains fondly remembered as the steady voice that kept SHADO talking. Literally. Ayshea Brough, Lieutenant Ayshea. Ayshea Brough brought a touch of pop star sparkle to SHADO HQ as Lieutenant Ayshea, the stylish communications officer who made the control room look effortlessly cool. Off-screen, Ayshea was already a rising pop singer and TV personality. She hosted her own music show, Lift Off with Ayshea, from 1969 to 1974, released several singles, and even performed songs written for her by Elton John. Throughout the 70s, she became a familiar face on British game and variety shows before moving to Los Angeles in the 80s, where she acted in a few films and married CBS executive Michael I. Levy. Now in her mid-70s, she's remembered by UFO fans as the chic, musical heartbeat of SHADO HQ. Mark Hawkins, Lieutenant Gary North. Mark Hawkins suited up as Lieutenant Gary North, one of SHADO's interceptor pilots. The fearless flyers sprinting to their ships whenever a UFO alert sounded. Outside UFO, Hawkins' acting career was brief. He appeared in the historical series The Caesars and had a small role in the film My Lover, My Son, but soon after stepped away from the screen altogether. Norma Ronald, Miss Eland. Miss Eland was Commander Straker's ever-efficient secretary at the Harlington Straker Film Studio. With her calm voice and knowing glances, she managed everything from phone calls to security codes, often triggering the secret buzz that meant trouble was on the way. Beyond the series, Ronald enjoyed a steady career in British film, radio, and television throughout the 60s and 70s. Married to actor Edward Judd, she later turned her empathy toward real-world service, helping launch an AIDS support hotline through the Terrence Higgins Trust in the 1980s. She passed away in the mid-1990s. Maxwell Shaw, Dr. Schroeder. Maxwell Shaw set the tone for UFO from the very beginning as Dr. Schroeder, SHADO's first medical officer. With his calm authority and no-nonsense professionalism, he gave the pilot a sense of realism. The kind of steady doctor you'd trust in an organization fighting aliens. Sadly, illness forced him to leave the production after only a few appearances. Off-screen, Shaw was a respected stage actor and producer, married to UFO's own casting director, Rose Tobias Shaw. Though he never returned to the series, he remained active in theater until his passing in 1985. Gabrielle Drake, Lieutenant Gay Ellis. Gabrielle Drake made Lieutenant Gay Ellis unforgettable. The poised moon-based commander with the silver miniskirt, purple wig, and nerves of steel. She balanced authority and allure perfectly, coolly giving firing orders one moment and showing flashes of humanity the next. For many fans, she is the face of UFO. The image that instantly comes to mind when you think of SHADO's moonbase. After the series, Drake built a fascinating and varied career. She moved easily into film with roles in Crossplot and Connecting Rooms, then gained cult fame in a string of cheeky British sexploitation hits like Au Pair Girls, where she left the SHADO uniform far, far behind. By the mid-70s, she was starring in the hit drama The Brothers and went on to enjoy a long, respected run on stage. In later years, she devoted herself to preserving the legacy of her brother, the musician Nick Drake. Now in her 80s, she lives quietly in a beautifully restored medieval abbey in Shropshire, a fittingly grand setting for the woman who once ruled the moon. Shakira Baksh, Joanna. Shakira Baksh, now known to the world as Lady Shakira Kane, made a dazzling early appearance in UFO's The Responsibility Seat as Joanna, a SHADO operative drawn into an undercover mission with Commander Straker. With her striking beauty and quiet confidence, she lit up the screen, even in a brief role. It was one of her very first acting credits, but her story was just getting started. A former Miss Guyana and Miss World runner-up, Baksh transitioned from modeling to film work around this time. Then fate intervened. Actor Michael Caine spotted her in a commercial, tracked her down, and married her in 1973. She appeared in a few more projects, including The Man Who Would Be King, before stepping away from acting to focus on family and design. Now in her late 70s, Lady Shakira Kane lives a private, elegant life. A real-world love story that began not in the stars, but with a brief shimmer in the UFO universe. Mel Oxley, voice of Sid. Mel Oxley gave UFO one of its most unforgettable sounds, the calm, mechanical voice of Sid, the orbiting satellite that kept constant watch for incoming alien craft. Off-screen, Oxley was no stranger to the microphone. A South African-born broadcaster, he'd worked as a Radio Luxembourg DJ and later as a BBC announcer and newsreader, making him a natural fit for the role of a sentient satellite. Beyond UFO, he narrated a few BBC documentaries and continued as a trusted voice on BBC World Service through the 70s and 80s. Oxley passed away in 1998. Did I miss anyone? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like. Subscribe for more classic TV deep dives and share it with a fellow sci-fi fan who remembers when purple wigs and interceptors ruled the galaxy.